Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. Hello and
Welcome.
hello.
As usual, keep us posted on audio levels and even video levels. Oh boy, there's going to be a lot of chat. I'm going to have a hard time. Hey, Carlos.
No doubt they'll be captivated before long by our scintillating conversation.
Hello, everybody. The gang is all here. There's a
So
Tim
before we start our recording on our end, we wanted to ask to throw in the chat. This is definitely pre-show. Throw in the chat if there are things that you are looking for. This is a reward for you all. I don't know why anybody. I don't know why anybody wants to hear us talk. Period. But also do it live. Um, do let us know if there are things in particular you are hoping to get out of this experience before we start recording. Uh, well, I mean, you can send them along at any point, but we're more likely to see them now than when we are talking online.
Oh, even Mark showed up.
Yeah, even Mark.
Ultrasun, Moors, Lost Lake, Mystery Art,
There is a
Kaons.
starfighter standee in the back. That is what that is.
Yes. So yeah, Moss is here
I
as
do have a
well.
starfighter poster. I also have a Jedi starfighter poster, and I have the Dev Game Club poster over
Ah,
there.
nice. That what was that for? 200 episodes?
I don't remember what the occasion was of us
Uh,
getting that, but yeah, I have that one.
yeah, if we miss something in chat, obviously we're going to be multitasking. So if we miss something in chat, let us know or repeat it. And yeah, I mean we don't we don't have a high I mean, Brett does a great job on the production side, post production, but during us our recordings, we don't really do anything super fancy. So a live recording is not like anything different than what you normally hear. I think on a recorded episode, we don't do like a bunch of editing
No, I don't. I don't. You
most of the time.
get all the ums and ahs.
Yeah, exactly. And if we mess up, we just keep going anyway. So live will be fine.
Oh wow, somebody has suggested a singing review.
I knew it. I knew it. I hope you're ready.
Uh,
Uh,
hmm. I do have one, but
Ultrason. Oh my god. Should I? Should I? He just asked if he should watch episode 1 through 448 before watching this.
I
Yeah,
mean,
this
I
is a
assume everyone
spoiler.
has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can't. If you watch this now, you're not going to understand what's going on. Yeah. Well, anyway, yes. So thanks. I mean, I know you have some announcements, but yeah, thanks for allowing us to do this as always, and it's fun to finally do a live episode
Yeah, and
for a good cause.
we will do the announcements as part of the cast because I want that to be in the audio that we release tomorrow. This should still release tomorrow. Um, I've got a very fancy microphone stand here, which is an old Scotch box, so
Perfect, on
I
brand.
had to raise it up to be this level. So
My focus is weird because of my mic too. That doesn't usually happen. Anyway, yeah. We also have a couple mods. Brett is a mod on the channel, and I think at least one other person here is also.
Bio, I think, is a mod.
Yeah. So if anyone has anything in Twitch that they need done, I don't even know what that means, but we have mods.
All right.
Yeah. Any requests? I'm kind of scanning.
I haven't
I
seen
don't see
anything
anything
new, so
specific. So
yeah. So I guess we'll just do our thing, and then later on, maybe we will have the have additional opportunities. Tim,
ask questions away too as we're
yeah,
going.
certainly we will get to a point where we're reading email. It's a great time for Q&A as well, because it won't necessarily interrupt the flow of our thoughts. But if there are other times where we can bring things in, we will try to. So
You are already recording.
I am not. I'm about to record. That's why I
Oh,
was
I
starting
see.
to.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
This is all the pre-show,
That's what you meant.
the post pre-show pre-show.
Right. Awesome.
All
All
right, sir.
right.
Are you ready to record?
I am.
All
I
right.
am
In
ready
that
to
case,
record. We have our
let's.
topics. I guess, yeah, you know this, but I don't know. I'm just trying to make some stuff up for this live stream. But one of the things we do in pre-show, post pre-show, is we do discuss topics. Both of us have notes and stuff. Um, though I predict that throughout the 9 years, I might take more notes. I don't know for sure, but I've gotten that impression.
That is a known thing. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So we do compare notes and we do pick some topics. But as you all know, the conversation's pretty organic, so we often don't even hit all those topics. But that's one thing we did that you didn't see,
Yeah.
as far as production goes.
Yeah. We rarely hit all of our topics, but we don't have tons of topics this time because we're doing this live for the first time. So we thought, let's keep it light. Maybe I'll put this up here.
Mystery's daughter pulled her own molar out, and we just found out. So, wow, good way
With
to.
pliers. Wow. Is it safe? Okay. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to Dev Game Club, a weekly podcast in which two veteran game developers look at games from the past to discuss their relevance and impact today. I'm Brett Duva, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, a man who is live streaming his first ever podcast recording tonight.
Tim Longo. Wow, it's happening.
It's
And you're
happening.
recording. It's real.
It is real.
Intro, everything.
You want to remind folks why we're doing this? Why are we doing this, Tim?
So, the wonderful community that has sprung up around, sprung up because of the podcast, but I think it's become much bigger than that at this point. So, we are a very small part of it. Defeating Games for Charity is, we're coming up on the third year for that charity event, which is Video Game History Foundation, is, I believe, the main organization that it's being run for. And so, one of last year's, which yes, we're just coming in under the wire,
Yeah,
which is so us.
2.5 months or something like that.
Yeah. For last year, the last one of them, which was early this year, one of the unlocks for the charity event was if we make enough money, and I apologize, I don't remember what that cap was for that one. It was pretty high though, I think. Then we would agree if we made enough money in the if all of the community collectively made enough money in the charity event that we would record finally a live version of the podcast on Twitch. So if you're hearing this via the usual podcast feed, we are currently streaming it on Twitch. We have chat going. All the usual suspects are in there, and we're interacting with them, and we'll hopefully get some. Yes, as Artemis says, we are the podcast. Yes, correct. I think we're both really excited about how big the community has gotten and how it is well beyond the two of us at this point. But the charity event's awesome. The third year is coming up. Brett's going to do some announcements on that. But that's why we are doing, for some unknown reason, a live version of recording the podcast, which I know many other podcasters do because they go to Twitch and they record on Twitch, and it's kind of a more interactive experience. That's not really us. We're not that organized. I don't know if we'd want to be on a schedule like that either. I don't know. We'll see how this one goes, I guess. But that's why we are doing this.
Yes. So as you mentioned, this live stream is the result of the stretch goal for Defeating Games for Charity 2025. Happily, and this is announcement number 1, between now and November 15th, they are accepting applications to be a streamer on 2026's Defeating Games for Charity, which will be January 24th and 25th of next year. The applications are open until November 15th. So if you go to, and this link will be in the show notes, but if you go to defeatinggames.com/apply, you can find the application process there. And I know they meet and talk about all of those things in the Discord. We don't really get involved. This is all the community's thing. We're more involved just on some of the rewards and stretches and all that stuff, and we're happy to do it. And then the other announcement I had is that also on November 15th, unrelated to that, but also a charity, one of our community members, Noises, is part of a 12-hour Rocksmith Raid Train Twitch stream where they're going to be trying to raise charity for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, or PanCan, I believe is what it's called. So if you want to look up that organization, or if you want to be part of that, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes if I can. I don't have a lot of information on it, but I'm sure we'll get some more out there in the Discord between now and then. Noises, I'm sure we'll post there as well, and we'll mention it over the next couple of weeks. Both of these announcements over the next couple of weeks as well. So,
And Noises
more to come.
Noises participated last year in earlier this year's 2025's charity, the Feeding Games.
That's right.
He was one of the streamers, and if you have not watched him do his thing, you definitely want to do that, and especially to support pancreatic cancer research.
Yeah,
I just realized I'm nodding a lot. By the way, if people didn't know this, we never record the podcast even on our own with video. So this is weird for us.
We normally don't see each other talking.
I'm like nodding.
And in fact, I keep looking down at this monitor below me, but then I'm trying to look back up. It's like, I don't know, it's not the ideal scenario for me. I like to be able to look at my notes. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm consulting my notes and making sure I'm keeping us on track. The camera's kind of right here in the middle of the two monitors. So,
and I'm looking to my right because that's where my other monitor is. So
yeah. So now you see how the sausage is made. Congrats. I actually don't even normally do it in this room. So, because normally,
right, good point.
I'm normally upstairs. I had to get a long.
Because your camera isn't in the other location.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Yeah. So normally it'd be you on screen only if we did it that way. So
right.
I do sometimes wonder if guests find that a little weird. Like they come on, they don't know us. A lot of the time, sometimes they do, and they know our voices already, but for a fair number of them, we don't have a long history with them, and just to come on and be like, oh, here's these two similar sounding white guy voices, like good luck keeping track of that. And who knows, they probably don't.
Well, I sound enough like Kermit the Frog that it's okay.
Oh, that's true. In the future, I'll try to add that to my impression. Kermit the Frog here.
Those are the two. Yoda and Kermit the Frog are the two criticisms I get of my voice. We did do
Small Green Men.
Exactly, not by design. We did one of our guests requested video. It was the GoldenEye composer, which I'm blanking on.
That's right. Grant Kirkhope.
He preferred it, so he's like, "Hey, can we do? Did we do that on Zencastr? How did we do that?"
We did. Yeah, it's available on Zencastr. Yeah. So we probably did it there. I was actually not in the country at that time, and I was under a blanket. Remember the audio?
Oh my Lord!
Yeah,
that's right. You were under a blanket.
Yeah, to muffle this because it was a very echoey space that I was in. So
that's funny.
Normally, I'm just kind of, the angles are better in my living room, and there's a carpet, and it was all just absorbed. But and there's a carpet down here, so it's not so bad. But anyway, hopefully it's not too echoey. All right, shall we get to the cast then? We're here to discuss Portal 2 as a kind of bonus, bumper episode, I guess, to our. I'll call it a bumper episode because that's what Eric Wolpaw called all the speaking before and after the puzzle is all. Those are all.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, nice.
So this is our bumper episode about Portal 2, which, if you've been following along, Tim and I have played the co-op campaign. We'll talk a little bit about that later on, but it was. We played all of that, but we've each played quite a bit of the single player campaign as well. And so we'd like to try to cover both of those things tonight. What is your, we should probably talk a little bit as we normally do. Like, what's your history with Portal 2?
Yeah, I think it's pretty typical when it comes. I'm trying to think of when it came out. Where was I? I mean, we've talked about this before, but so often our relative timelines in life have to do with what project were we on. That's how I think of life. Like, what company was I at? So I don't even remember though, because I guess I was at
It's like
Chris
2010 or 2011. You were probably at LucasArts your second tour,
second tour. Yeah, I think you're right then.
or
Yeah,
just wrapping it up.
yeah,
Because it
yeah,
it
yeah,
ended around that time.
yeah,
I think it's around that time that it came out.
yeah. And
I didn't look this up in advance.
I think ironically, which we talked about for those who watched us play the co-op mode. We have a mutual friend,
And
Reed,
former guest.
and former guest, right, for TIE Fighter. Yeah. Reed, who, shout out to Reed, he listens to the podcast as well, though he might get to this in like 2030
Yeah.
because he listens very slowly. But anyway, he and I played co-op back then, and I think we actually played co-op first. So I did finish the campaign back then, but um, I don't think other than one person, I didn't know anybody at Valve at the time. So yeah, I mean, it was just, I was surprised, to be honest. I don't think we talked about this much um, while we were playing Portal 2, but for some reason, I remember being surprised that Portal 2 was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. Like, it's definitely, and we'll talk about the necessity of Portal 2.
yeah,
But yeah, it is kind of surprising because it was such a quirky, out of left field that also was part of the Orange Box, so it was not like separately tracked, like what its sales were. I mean, its critical reception is undeniable, right? I mean, and
right.
clearly, everybody who played it loved the game. I mean, there's very few haters of Portal. It's definitely top 10 list, kind of worthy. Um, but again, like, that critical reception doesn't necessarily connect to sales, and if they were selling them, of course they own Steam, so I'm sure they know just how much time people play Portal, and they can make judgments of their own. That's kind of an unusual case for them. So presumably they were seeing something in that data of like, you know what, actually it looks like we do have something here. We should we should you know you know play on that. Revisit it, keep it fresh, like, I don't know, keep it alive. There is a intellectual property
See,
refresh rate that you have to hit, right? To
see what
not
you
lose
did
it.
there.
Yeah.
Keep it alive. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
I'm still alive.
it's a good question. Eric talked a little bit about it, if I recall, when we had him on. But Valve is a very unique place. Ironically, I just had lunch with somebody who had worked there previously last week. I have a photo that I saw on the street that I texted to Brett that I forgot to post it in Discord. But we have a Discord community who many of you are listening and even on this Twitch right now. So I'll post it in there. But I won't spoil it. But we were talking about Valve. I was just curious. I'm always curious. We're always curious about it. And it's just, I won't divulge anything secret, but it's just the way that projects get spun up is very different than a lot of other studios. And to Brett's point, like, what is the motivation for doing a sequel? Our impression, which I do think is fairly public, is that Valve's projects kind of get started in a more organic fashion by the employees. It's not always really an initiative that corporate, which you hear from most other publishers and things, right? Where they come back and they come and say, we need another Call of Duty. So this had to gain some sort of internal momentum for it to exist at all. And then the way that it kind of works there is that people within the company, which is still, as developers go, a fairly small set of developers in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
how many projects they have, and they kind of people join in almost voluntarily to help make the game. And at some point when they're into ship mode, they know, okay, we gotta make this thing, we gotta final this thing. So people kind of all jump in, but it sounds very collaborative and more organic. So Eric, I think, was a good example of somebody who probably, I don't know this, we don't know this for sure, but there would have had to have been internal advocates for the game to really push it forward, and Eric probably was one of them. We don't know. I'm guessing. And it was such a beloved game that, to Brett's point, the IP, and one of the topics I want to talk about today has to do with the IP. The IP doesn't get a lot of love, and I'm putting Half-Life and Portal in the same world, of course. And so you can kind of see that this was, people, Portal was short. The first one was short, and you could see people wanting more. And I think it's a really interesting discussion for today's episode on what more means.
Yeah, 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 for
Uh,
sure. And we'll get into that. I mean, I will say to your point about the the sort of structure of Valve, and it's kind of like horizontal, you know,
mhm,
structure. Like around this time, maybe a year or so before, their employee handbook was released online as well. I don't remember if that was a leak. Not that they were protective of it; they weren't like mad or upset about it if it was a leak. It's just kind of like, why would you release that, I guess. But I remember looking at the time, and they had they're very clear about what they were looking for in employees, which were like employees who are both broad but deep. So broad could
mhm.
cover a number of sort of disciplinary areas, but deep in one in particular, maybe, I think, was one of the things. And then the structure, the horizontal structure, was like a huge part of it as well. So
Yeah.
I definitely uh, remember that being kind of the space into which this game, kind of came out. Is like, oh, we understood more about Valve than we knew before. If you didn't know somebody there, and I didn't, until I don't know, Brad Muir, maybe. I can't remember who went there first, or the Campo Santo folks when they were acquired. It's like, oh, now I know whatever, half dozen people there, but it is a kind of a quiet and extremely efficient company in terms of money generated per employee. I think they regularly rank among the top in the world because they're a small number of people, but they own Steam. So they get a cut of every PC game nearly released. So it's quite an interesting company. It's and a weird place, I imagine, to work from that standpoint. So
Yeah. Yeah. PC. I mean, it's just Portal 2 specifically. I don't know. It's just such a weird product.
yeah,
you know um I guess in the end of the day it does logically make sense that they would do it. They did the Half-Life 2, I guess, right? So you things like
yeah.
that, some obvious things.
Right,
um
and episode 2 was part of this orange box packages of the original game as well, right?
right,
And
right.
Alex, of course, was in the future at that point, but everybody was still waiting for episode 3. In fact, there was probably some response to Portal 2 being like, "I don't want more Portal. Give me episode 3," right? Because
Right.
that ends um, on a sad note. Let's just say,
Mm.
that people wanted to follow up on. So we
you I,
also had we talked to Mark Laidlaw, by the way, as an interview as well, and Dario is Casals, I think, right? Is his last name? Yeah. Anyway,
I'm
I'll
not
put
the one
links
to
for
ask.
those in the show notes, or you can find them on the website. Um, but they are former guests, and Mark in particular talked about his story that he was thinking about for Half-Life 3, and then it was released 6 months after talking to us. I think on the web he put a you know regendered, renamed, thinly veiled, uh, Half-Life 3 story out there to talk about what the next game would be there. Um,
What a
I
weird
mean,
thing.
anyway, so everybody wants Half-Life 3 or a Half-Life Episode 3 or Half-Life 3 for that matter. But they do Portal 2, and we were discussing before the show, whether whether it was necessary. I mean, you say that logically it makes sense, but uh, we can talk about necessary and then go into what does it mean to be Portal 2 after from that. So pick up there wherever you want.
Yeah, and reminder too for people in chat, if you have questions about this, obviously Portal 2, because we're talking about that today, but really throw stuff at us too. We're trying to keep track. I appreciate I appreciate you all watching the chat here. Uh, Art did ask a question though, as far as like us talking about being on camera. I mean, Brett and I do see each other on camera more than we would like
Yeah, a
in
lot.
other places. So
Yeah.
just to be clear, it's just when we do the podcast, we use Zencaster so that
It's at the end of the day and we're just like, I'm
uh,
so tired of your face.
don't want it's a break. Um, yeah, so I think the interesting thing that that kept maybe did for you too, but it kept coming up in my notes while playing Portal 2. And I'm just about to start the last chapter, which is I think pretty short, the one where you go after Wheatley. So I'm almost done with the game single player, and we played it. Of course, co-op doesn't relate to the story as much, but um, I don't know. It's such a funny because that the timing of the game compared to also where Valve was transitioning into more live service multiplayer games, which is pretty much
True.
all they do now, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
there's this little bit of an anomaly, but also very I forgot. I only had played it the once before. I had forgot how robust of a game this is. Like it's long, the campaign's long. There's a lot of puzzles. There's a lot of new mechanics, and
There's a lot of story.
there's more story there and
Yeah.
canon and fiction and lore than I would have thought. Welcome, Kyle. And yep, Lost Lakes here too. So I don't get me wrong, I love the game and I'm glad it exists. However, without hopefully people throwing tomatoes at me, um, Portal One we talked about in our Portal One series, I think is almost a perfect game. Like
Yeah.
it has the whole package is there. And it's not because it's short. That's not it's one of the reasons I like it, but it's not one of the main reasons. And so I felt like it kind of did what it needed to do. And if this had come from anyone other than Valve, I would be kind of cynical about it in that they're like, we need to capitalize on an IP. We need to ride the wave because that's what corporations do. They're like, oh, we have a hit. We got to make another one. Valve didn't need to do that, so at least we know that their motivations were more, you know, obviously they want to make money too, but their motivations weren't the same as another publisher, right? So
Yeah.
you can kind of put aside that they're just trying to cash in because the if you're gonna make a sequel to Portal One, I think they did a really really good job at making a sequel to Portal One. All that being said, I don't know if it added anything that new to the equation for me, and it was really long, and it was kind of like a little drawn out,
Yeah.
for like not filler per se. And I have
No,
a
but there's
counterpoint to my
probably
point.
more, there's probably more puzzles than there absolutely need to be with each kind of thing. There's also whole new mechanics that are,
Hmm.
you know, I do feel like they kind of covered, everything they needed to with the mechanics they had, with one cool exception that I remember that I got today that I was like, oh, that's actually a really cool thing that they hadn't done with the beams. So they had those laser beams were in the first one, and of course the portals, and those kind of, the cubes, things with weight to put down buttons and things like that. Moving platforms. Like there was only a handful of mechanics really, and some of them were really just kind of like bare bones, just there to kind of throw a thing into the mix. But it's really just like, can you think with the portals, and um, can you sort of derive the sort of implications of those portals, right? It's like,
Hmm.
oh, that means I can do this, I can do like this, the speed, so they kind of like explored everything they needed in order to make Portal 2. There are quite a number of puzzles in that vein at the beginning, and then they're like, but what if also this and
Hmm.
also this and also this? And it's like more and more frosting on the cake, as it were. That is maybe, yeah, I'm sorry. That's also why we don't do this on camera. I don't have to, I can just imagine him shaking his head. Um, but it's a lot. And then of course, because they're so good at introducing mechanics, each of those have to have sort of ramps into
Yep.
like how they work. And that's what extends the time, is like, oh, you've learned about, these bridge beams or whatever. Like, okay, now you've got to realize that they don't have to be horizontal. They can also be vertical. They can stop your momentum. They, like, here's all the rules to do with those things. And it's like, and you've got to do, I mean, that's like 6 puzzles just to be like, okay, this is how these work. Now we
Right.
can do some interesting things with them. And it's like, so now here's another 6 puzzles, right? And before you know it, you've got, what are, what is like 5 or 6 new mechanics. So you've got like at least, you know, 60 puzzles. puzzle
Yep.
rooms, and it's like, oh my god, and it adds up fast,
The
as opposed
cognitive
to what 17 or whatever it was in the first one.
bio says the frosting is not a lie. Yeah. Brett Duville.
You're just giving me stuff I'm gonna have to edit out. So just have the
No,
conversation. We'll do the Q&A later. They can
he's
say
not
whatever
gonna
they
edit
say.
anything out.
I sure am.
Um so yeah, yeah, I don't know if cognitive load is the right term. We maybe talked about it from time to time, but uh and let's see, where you're in the Cave Johnson section.
Very, very near the end, he's like dying and yelling about
Yeah, so
lines and
you've
stuff.
gotten the white goo at this
Yeah,
point.
I've had all the
Yeah,
goo and
yeah. So, and then the next section you meet back up with Wheatley, um, and it's kind of like the run to the end of to the boss,
right.
etc. And she's with you and everything. And the reason I bring that up is that there's sort of there ends up being a bit of a clash for me. Not a mm, yeah, I'll stand behind my clash word. There ends up being a bit of a clash in that they did a great job at world building in Portal 2, and I do think Portal 1 alluded to, like, as a player, I wanted more of the world. So full admission, like, yes, it makes sense that they're gonna flesh things out, and the whole Cave Johnson thing, where you go from the '70s to the '80s to the present, as you're rising up, like, just chef's kiss of
Yeah,
just like
absolutely
world
brilliant.
design and
Yeah.
just context, and everything is just really amazing.
and
Um,
and and character development, like, I mean, just everything about that whole section, like, and the slow revelation of who Gladys is, like, I mean, just beat for beat for beat. There's even stuff in there that explains Chell, who Chell
mhm,
is, if you find it. So it's just like, on every possible front, they are,
yep.
like, even using the gray white goo, right, which is basically the paint that is the portal paint. This, it's
Hmm.
like, oh, of course they had to develop a thing that made these surfaces different from those surfaces, right? It's some sort of mixed technology, right?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, like, I mean, yeah, like you said, chef's kiss,
It's
perfectly baked.
really well done. Yeah. I mean, it just completely structured in such a way, and I know it's an award-winning game. I think they won various awards for it, and I think
Yeah.
it deserves. So I'm not trying to, like, poo-poo it or anything, because I think it is just a masterful game. To follow up Portal 1 with Portal 2 is is amazing. It's a miracle that they were able to do it. But at the same time, it's like, once you add in all that, the thing that it didn't occur to me before I started playing it again, that I didn't even think would come up, is once you do enter into such an established and deep world building effort like they did, even adding in people like Cave Johnson, which is voiced by J.K. Simmons, right? Um,
Yes.
and Stephen Merchant as Wheatley. You have these amazing voice actors who are doing amazing jobs, and I'm invested. First time through, didn't think about any of this stuff. Playing for the podcast, obviously we overanalyze everything. The world building, once you get back to Wheatley, and I would even say during Cave Johnson too, because it's kind of it's a cool section, but it's also a little bit of a novelty of, like, yes, this is awesome. I'm getting some stuff, but then Cave kind of comes and goes, and then you're off and you're on to the next thing. It's like, okay, it was a neat section, but at the
And
middle,
he's still just bumpers, right? Just like
right? He
all
doesn't
the
have a
original
lot.
puzzles.
Yeah,
He doesn't have a ton. It's beginning and end of a level. I mean, sometimes they're a little more extended because they know you're going to be like flying across some gap forever, and then finally landing and getting in the elevator. But the elevator will wait. So it's like definitely
right.
bumpers of like, okay, at the beginning and the end of the level, I'm going to get some information. I love how they go from like, astronauts and Olympians and like the absolute pinnacle of human achievements, to like homeless people that they can get for $60, off the street to do the test because they're broke.
Right.
Well, they're, it's like, oh my God, it's quite dire, shall we say,
It,
the circumstances.
and it should, yeah, no, I mean, it's a really rare and effective way to give you backstory for this company, Aperture Science, Aperture Laboratories, we didn't have before. And even though this is sort of like I'm counterpointing myself on this, which I will do later, but the point I was about to make there is just that the really deep and well done world building started to conflict with puzzle solving for me. I'm
Mm,
like, yes, love cave. I love this. Oh man, 70s. I'm getting to see the bottom of the building. It's kind of like control in that way, right? You're seeing like the
yeah.
foundations
Right.
of how
Yeah.
this corporation was built, this science corporation. And being such a big Half-Life world fan myself as a player, I'm eating all this stuff up. And then there's a puzzle that is like, and we should talk separately about the in-world contextual puzzles because those are really interesting because I think that's something that Portal 1 wanted to give you and didn't give you. But there is still that, I think it's that cognitive dissonance that we talk about with shooting and character development, right? Or
Right.
whatever, combat and character development, the Uncharted problem. Uncharted whew, Uncharted problem. So I just didn't anticipate that same cognitive dissonance being in this game with puzzles.
Yeah.
But it makes sense now that I think about it because I'm like, yeah, there's a lot going on. There's characters and there's world building, and I'm still doing puzzles, which I like the puzzles, but there ended up being a tension for me there.
Yeah. No, and I don't disagree at all. I mean, for me, the biggest tension was, I love how through the beginning, it's like 4 chapters, so it's a lot of puzzles of Gladys doing these tests with you, that you're getting little peeks at Wheatley, and then finally he quote unquote breaks you out. And that section felt, in a way it didn't the first time I played it, that felt interminable.
Mm,
Like it's like, and it's like I'm just running, like as a player, I'm really just running through hallways here. Like I'm going to eventually get through to the other side of this. Like when I first played it, it was like really exciting because like I don't know where I'm going,
you don't know what's
you
gonna
know.
happen.
But here, playing it again, it really felt like this feels too extensive for the payoff. Um, which is, in the original game, it's like this leads you out to the end. And, we actually didn't talk about this on the podcast, but the original ending didn't have you in the parking lot of Aperture Science being dragged away to, get tested again in the future. They added that as a patch before Portal 2 came out. Um, Originally, it was like you just showed up, and I remember it being like a desert, basically. You were like, you went out this door, there was a shack, and there was nothing. Like the world had been
Ooh,
annihilated. There
I
was
don't even
like,
remember that at all.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's my memory anyways. Like she goes outside and Gladys is like, "Well, there, here, this is what you wanted,"
Hmm.
and there's nothing there. That's my recollection. I might have to go look and track down a video or something. But anyway, like I said, so this sort of beat goes from like, this is exciting, I'm gonna get out, like whatever, to
Hmm.
like, this is just a long extended sequence, and then I'm gonna go back to more puzzles, is a very different arc, and it's way too long to be that. Even if it
Right.
is developing Wheatley, it's because of that tension. I think is like it needs to develop this character further, explain further what he's all about. It needs you to really understand that he's adult. Like it needs. I mean, that's kind of the payoff. Is like
Yeah.
when Gladys finally tells you what his deal is, you're like, oh, this makes sense,
Yeah.
and oh, I've done something terrible. And that's a great reversal, but it is so long to effectively not really be doing anything. Like you're just running from place to place, occasionally a place in Portal, but like it's very like run through this hallway, jump to this location, whatever. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
there
That's
is the cool thing with the turret, find another turret, the defective turret, and use it and clone it and all that stuff, which is
yeah.
fun.
There's some
But
cool
that's
moments.
maybe the only kind of thing in there that I'd be like, oh, I'm glad I had that, and the rest of it feels like, oh my god, too much.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that ended up being like if you can imagine, like for me when playing those sections, I think to myself, what was the block out process for that? Is the level designer blocking this out or are they trying to block out space for story? There's always
Right.
an interesting tension there of like we need more space for story, so you make more space. But as you're saying what you were just saying, it just dawned on me that's a really good point that I hadn't anticipated. in a game like Half-Life, which is also very rich in world building, and you're going through these worlds that are really fleshed out and they're all really well thought through, there's always combat to fall back on. You're always shooting.
Right.
For better for worse, you're shooting a gun.
Yeah.
But that's the core loop. But unless you're doing a puzzle in Portal, there isn't much to do, right? Unless you're using the portal gun to solve a puzzle. So it's yeah, I don't know. I didn't anticipate that coming. It's very anti Tim to feel like the world building, which is so good in this game, actually conflicts with the core point of it. And again, wrapping it back around to Portal 1, which this episode is a bonus to, I think because it was so focused around the science of it, and like the chambers, like we didn't see, you just got, it's like, you know, we talked about it when we did that series. You get to see behind the scenes a little bit, right? Especially at the end, and you have some reveals and things and it was sort of like just enough. But here they're like, okay, the whole game, you're gonna see all the behind the scenes stuff, and it's like,
Right.
I there was a time when for some consulting I did, I got to go behind the scenes at Disneyland, and my wife and I are
You're a
big
fan.
Disney
Yeah.
fans, Disneyland fans, and as you might imagine, it did have an impact on my enjoyment. It kind of ruins the magic, right? Because you're like, so it's like too much of that. But to your point, like you're running on catwalks and
Yeah.
the team did
And
an
any
amazing
like
job.
there's no I was gonna say there's no individual moment where I'm like, this is bad.
Mm-mm.
It's just there's too much. There is like, yeah, the environments are really cool. And there's like lots of like quote unquote explanation. There's lots of like stuff you would expect to be in the background of a place this massive. But also it's like, oh, this thing is way bigger than I thought. Like
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty huge from Portal 1, but like this thing is really massive and there's all this infrastructure that supports all the stuff in it. And there's great gags like when you go and there's a door that she's placed on the wall which is like to Gladys or whatever like, and it falls over. I'm like so good. Like there are moments, but like again, it's just like I want that stuff to be gestured at more than I want it to be stretched out and told to me,
Yeah.
so I
Well,
definitely found that.
if you do continue, the section you're about to hit is, is like,
I could tell, yeah. You have a puzzle where you've got like all three types of goo, and you have to climb, and then you got to climb some more.
yeah,
And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, like, and this is more of that,
it's kind
and
of a neat thing.
yeah,
But once Wheatley comes back in, he basically is retesting you,
yeah,
but
yeah,
in his doofus way, he's
yeah. They're
retesting you,
all the tests are
and
dumb,
she's with you,
yeah,
and so she's commenting on that. So it's kind of it's a definitely a neat back and forth between the two of them, and it's just the potato thing is still like, almost at the scale of the song, right? It's like
oh, it's a
such a
top tier gaming moment
yeah, it's
when
really clever.
when she's in that potato. And I
So,
mean, and here's the thing I didn't notice at the time is that they support that in the initial puzzles where they're, that after them you go into the elevator room and there's like videos on the walls. One of those videos is talking about how like we've worked it so our AIs can run on like 0.133 millivolts or whatever. It's like so
mm,
that they could basically run in a potato. It's like,
that's
they could run
funny.
with no, and it's like, I mean, the thought that goes into the creating of something like that to me is like that is magical to me.
Hmm.
Even if playing this a second time, I can see some of this stuff is like a little overextended. Um, it is magical. Like I honestly, I think what if I were to do it, like I would take out the blue and orange goo and just do the paint goo,
Mm,
like shorten that whole section. Even though you get a lot of the cool backstory, and we should talk more about Cave Johnson and Carol and all that. Um, that's probably if I were to like, how do I shrink this thing?
yeah.
That would probably be the area where I'm like, you know what? There's too many. Like that opens up a huge world. Like they haven't even scratched the surface of the number of puzzles you could have there
Hmm.
with just the elements of jumping and moving fast. Like
Hmm.
they could do way more. And of course, we played some of those things in co-op as well. So a couple more topics for us in the near future.
Yeah. And the next section after which is called, I think it's called The Reunion and the Itch. The Itch is specifically where he's testing you, Wheatley's testing you. They
Mhm.
are trying to throw everything at you at that point, but um that's where my, like, from a game development standpoint, that's where my question comes in of chicken or the egg problem of, like, did they design a bunch of puzzles and then wrap in how Wheatley, how it's that sort of back and forth and the collaborative nature between narrative design, level design, and everybody, all the
Yeah.
disciplines putting that
Yeah.
together. But it's just interesting to see, like, because again, the execution is great. Like, this, I just want to say, this is a great game.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
still a
No.
great
Yeah.
game. I
Yeah.
still enjoy playing it. I want to finish it, and I'm almost done. And that's rare for me for a bonus episode to replay the whole game. But it's just very enjoyable. But for the podcast, we do try to look back critically as well, and see if there's any takeaways. And yeah, the less is more approach that I think is one of the things that I really loved about the first one. So
Yeah. And we know from that it was puzzles first, then
it
story.
sounds like it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like it. And Eric was very humble about that approach, which is good. Um,
Like I could put some let me just put some talk at the end, right, of each puzzle.
yeah,
Was basically what he said about it. And here it's not, it's not that. And again, like these are great stories. Like the whole
yeah,
Cave Johnson, that whole thing of like how this place came to be, and like they signal in advance like that
mm,
there is a hidden, that goes for mile. I think Wheatley says like it's miles down, of like stuff. And I was like, miles down, like how
hmm,
big, like, it's like, again, it just like it hits me of like how big is this place. And I have a sense, right? And of course all of this stuff plays together really, really well, which does make it really, really great. um but again, it does feel like too many. I think when you're doing like, okay, I'm going to have some puzzle and then some story and some puzzle and some story, that works well at 2 to 4 hours in a way that feels too much at 10 to 12 hours.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The chapter that's called the itch, as you're also talking there, is making me think of our conversation with Eric. That, yeah, it is likely, as Eric said, you know, the design and puzzles probably came first, and that chapter before the end, which, the last chapter isn't even, I think it's pretty short because you're just basically going to fight him. Which before we finish, I do want to talk, even though neither of us played it, I think we should actually just log it in the episode just to make sure people know what happens. And I'm okay spoiling it at this point. But the itch chapter seems like there was a design decision of, like, or a team decision, collaborative team decision, where they're like, okay, the chapter before the end, we're going to come back in and do some more puzzles, some more, I wouldn't call them traditional, but we're going to use all the tools the player has. We're going to do 19 more puzzles.
And we're going to also want you to hate Wheatley just as much as you hated Gladys in the first game, right?
Right.
If you don't already.
Right. But that's the first game, right? It's another
Yeah, right.
portal
We're going
is
to put a whole
right
portal.
before the end,
Yeah.
and I think they're probably talking to Eric or whomever, right? Probably Eric as far as writing goes. And they're like, we need it, we need a wrapper for this. And so they come up with this whole thing, the itch, where it's like there's this compulsion that the AIs have to test people, to
Right.
do tests, and that's like the whole conceit. And he's like
It's the
smashing rooms
DNA
to
of the
get.
company, right? It's
Yeah,
Cave
yeah.
Johnson's
So,
whole thing, right?
but it's like, I don't want to say it's forced, but it's kind of forced. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we have 19 more puzzles. What's the story we're going to wrap around them before we go fight him? How do we kind of draw that out? And so it's funny, like, well written, super funny. You love Wheatley and hate him. Gladys is there with you. She's making great comments. Like, it's really lovely, but also it's sort of like, yeah, they wanted 19 more puzzles, and so they needed a narrative wrapper for it. So anyway,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I'm being too down on it, but it's
I
interesting.
mean, when we say it's a great game, it's okay to also say, but there are some problems.
Yeah,
Because it is a great game,
fair enough. Yeah.
you know.
uh and then remind me too, one of the other, I don't know if I said this in pre-show, but one of the other topics I want to talk about is just the Half-Life world in general.
Well,
So
we should talk about that, with respect to Cave
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
Caroline. So, like, I mean, let's just go right into that. I mean,
yeah.
one of the things I really, I'm, as we know, I'm not a lore guy, but one of the things I did really like in that section, and I said this about Portal, I think, is like this is how I like story. Is like it
Yeah.
matters. Like this is why these things are happening. It's explaining why the mechanics exist. Like I had forgotten I had forgotten the white paint, mostly because we played the co-op and it doesn't have that. And and I only got to that part of it today. And I was like, that's right. Like, I thought there was another one, but I couldn't remember what it was for. I was like, but of course that has to be there. And like, because it doesn't just work on any surface. It has to it works on specially
Yeah,
prepared surfaces.
super, super clever. Yeah.
And that's brilliant. Like, and that,
Oh, and
but like
oh,
developing to that point. Yeah.
do you
Go ahead.
remember what the sorry to interrupt, but do you remember what it's made of? He has a voice line about it.
I don't know.
I just now
Space rocks, moon rocks,
moon rocks.
because of the ending.
It just dawned on me, and
Yeah.
that is bonkers brilliant.
Well, like I said, they think of these things, they figure this stuff out and
Oh,
back propagate it into their story. I mean, that's the potato thing just again, right? Is
mhm.
like, oh, how is this gonna work? How are we gonna have Gladys carried around? How are we gonna shoot Wheatley out of the moon? We'll just back propagate that in, to these other things. It's great. It's
Unbelievable.
great. He's
Yeah.
like, they told me I didn't have enough for $7 worth of space rocks. Never mind 70 million. But I told them you only live once,
And he's like gotten sick from the moon
Yeah,
rocks or something.
he's so
So
sick.
he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
inhaled the fumes. Yeah, yeah. I mean the way that it relates to, well, yeah, I don't know if we want to move to the Half Life
No,
topic
no,
yet,
no,
but
please,
yeah,
because
but
he also talks about that.
the Cave Johnson stuff is just such that for me that was there's the Wheatley reversal and surprise, which you kind of have it's very clearly foreshadowed in the first game. You know what's going to happen, but here you're like, okay, Wheatley, the switcheroo there, and Gladys and the potato and all that, and then the Cave Johnson thing for me though. I remember playing it back originally being a big surprise as well. Like this, it's very like nice and refreshing to have this whole other unexpected. I just thought it was going to be these AI, right? Like these two AI back and forth. Which, if you were to take the Cave Johnson section out, it would just be that. But they plummet you to the bottom of the whatever, and then you see the years, which is brilliant. And for me, it's just this delightful, unexpected, and to your point, well written way to integrate gameplay purpose and meaning and reason for for being there into really well written dialogue,
Yeah,
and also backstory.
up to and including explaining Gladys, which I didn't need an explanation for,
Yeah.
but I wasn't sad to have it. There's a
Mm.
there's a lot of times where I'm like, I don't care, like I don't care why that happened, but because she's become somewhat of a sympathetic character, like she's learning something. This has been cut away from her, it feels like, she's like that had been taken away and she didn't remember this part of it. And then when Cave is talking about, well, we should just, you know I'm super sick and I want them to download me into to an artificial intelligence, whatever he says, to continue on. But you know what, if I don't make it, then it should be Caroline should run this company. And she starts like, echoing and reacting to things that he's saying, in the recordings. She's saying it, in the present. Some of it's
Mhm.
her, it's Carolyn in the background, or Caroline in the background, but there's a lot of Gladys responding to the recordings in the foreground.
Yeah.
And like you can start making that connection. It's a perfect way of like telling the audience, hey, I've got two, and here I'm going to add another two, and the audience goes, oh my god, four. And then shortly thereafter
Oh,
you go, and by the way, four, and they go, oh my god, I'm so smart, right? I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
Wheatley wouldn't figure that out, but we did. We were ahead of Wheatley on that
You
one.
sound like Cave Johnson right now.
Yeah, I do.
Uh,
I mean, he's doing
well
J.
done.
Jonah Jameson
Yeah.
about as
Yeah.
about as much as he
I
can.
mean, it's so J.K. Simmons though too, right? Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
he's
He has that voice. He
yeah.
just has that voice.
I don't even know. I mean, maybe it was a little bit before his skyrocket to, as far as like he had like a series of really big roles.
Yeah,
I feel like after that, which I don't know
yeah.
if they would have gotten him at that point. Um, I
I
mean, I
don't know.
guess you
I
throw
I
money
think
at
I think
people.
you'd be surprised because they're having worked with the studio that gets like a couple big voices for the games, not
Yeah,
for tons
maybe.
of lines, but they love those. That is an easy paycheck for a
Yeah, that's
voice
fair.
actor, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You're not paying a ton of money for them. They're not doing a ton of work,
yeah,
but they don't have to get. They just show up. They do it for 2 hours and they go away, and they get
yeah.
this big pay,
Voiceover work
whatever
is
it is.
good money. Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
As
Yeah,
a star, right? It's at scale, it's not amazing, but it's good, but it's not like. But if you're coming in and you're like, oh, we want this person's voice, because that person can do this thing,
yeah,
then it pays very well.
yeah.
So
And if you were to look at the script for Cave, linearly, it's not that much.
no, it's not.
So
It's not.
yeah, yeah. So, but it's that's another one of the pieces of the art form is finding the right voice actor for the right role. Is really critical in games too, for games that have that kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, from that point, like getting all of that, because going back to I don't remember what we said about Aperture in our Half Life series and Black Mesa, and Black Mesa's mentioned here. In fact, Cave mentions Black Mesa. Those guys, Black
Yeah.
Mesa, they can go to
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
So there's all these little Easter eggs. But uh, it was great to see and get more experience in this world. It's such a unique and interesting world, and we know so little about it in the grand scheme of things when it comes to other video game franchises. And so, as a fan, this game did remind me, and a kind of a different but related topic, how bummed I am. Now, I don't know if I'll ever play Half Life Alex. I haven't played it, but because it's VR, I don't know if I will. Um, just for motion sickness reasons, but how bummed I am. Like, yes, I get that they're live. This is maybe a little bit of a soapbox for a second, but I get that they're a live multiplayer company now, and that makes business sense for them, and that's what the team is drawn to do, and that's what they're doing. Great. Um, I get a feeling like maybe there's a little bit of meritocracy kind of stuff going on there too, so people are driven toward things that will, which will do
Right. Yeah.
well,
I mean,
right?
they talked about that in that manual I mentioned earlier. Like,
Yeah,
or actually, no, it was part of the conversation around that. Is like that
yeah.
people were drawn towards the because of the
Things.
stack ranking. I think that they do, right? Or something like that. When
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, oh, well, I want to work on this thing that if I work on hats for Team Fortress 2, that is worth more to the company than me working on, especially a VR game. Although they had a hardware
They
interest
right.
there.
They had other goals there. Yeah,
They
for
were
sure.
trying
But
they were trying to do something there, and that was like, well, we'll make the killer app for VR, but that didn't work out, from my
right.
perspective.
No, I don't think it did. I mean, they did. Apparently, they did, but it wasn't
No, I'm sure it
the
did. It
market.
did
The
very
market
well, but
isn't. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think the market has grown enough to be like we can
Right.
do a bunch of those. Like, it
Right.
didn't do what they dreamed of it doing. I guess would be my
Yeah.
point.
And because it sounds like it's so employee driven, which is and flat structure, which is great. Different way to do things. I just fear that you know a single player game in the Half Life world, I just miss them.
Yeah,
And maybe it's just me as an old man, and that's kind of my generation of gamer, and maybe the gamers these days don't care, and Valve's right, they wouldn't do well. I don't think they have directives where somebody says do or do not make those. But when the company's set up the way that it's set up, I just don't see them making anymore, right? I just
yeah,
don't
yeah.
see it happening. And it after playing this and I'm almost done with it, it just bums me out
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's so good.
I
And
mean,
this
it
game,
bums me out we didn't get a second Campo Santo game. you
yeah,
know,
that right.
like I was really interested in that game, and when they went there, that game
Mhm.
basically died, and they went and worked on. I mean, if you're gonna be given the keys to the kingdom, you might as well go and work on a Half-Life game. But like, to then have it be the game that I'm not gonna play. Like, I'm
Yeah,
they haven't solved that problem for me. I don't know if it's possible to solve that problem for me. There's a large percentage of the population that VR will not work for really ever. You know, I mean, maybe if they get it up to thousands of frames per second, but even then, I think the flicker response is part of the sickness. So, but
Hmm.
anyway, yeah, not to, I don't want to, let's not make this about me, Tim. Um,
Well, I just bummed, I just like
yeah,
because
no,
they
but
did.
I am too. I mean, I would have loved to play that Half-Life 3 game, even if that didn't end. And of course, that wouldn't have ended up being the story because that's not how game development works, right? It
Hmm.
would have started there and it would have become something else because some element of that wouldn't have worked. But I mean, can you imagine the Half-Life 3 that somehow incorporates, I don't know, portal technology into it as well? I mean, it's just like,
Well, it's funny too. I mean, you mentioned that. I don't know if you. I don't know if I have the name of the character, but their new multiplayer Deadlock, their new multiplayer game Deadlock, which is a
hmm,
third person shooter MOBA. So similar to Paragon. Was that the Epic one that did? So, anyways, third person shooter, but it's a MOBA, so there's lanes and stuff. But it's hero based, and so like Team Fortress or whatever. One of the heroes is called the Bellhop or the Doorman or something. It's
okay.
like, and his aesthetic is that 50s kind of bellhop, like
Mm.
with the pill hat, and kind of dressed
Yeah.
very
Like
dapperly.
Tim Roth in Four Rooms. Yeah.
Him exactly, yes.
Hmm.
He has his ability portals.
Oh my.
He can open doors for, I guess, himself and the team, right? So they can like go places.
Right.
Which we talked about on the Portal podcast. There's another shooter that does this called Splitgate,
Splitgate. Yeah.
that is like Halo meets Portals. So that's like more your fast action arena. But anyway, point being, they have incorporated Portals into another game. It's a multiplayer game,
Yeah.
multiplayer live game. Now, apparently, Deadlock is quite good. I've heard from friends who play it, so it's they're still doing their thing. So I wish them the best there. But yeah, I'm just bummed because
Yeah.
this game Portal 2 is so good at that world building stuff. It just reminds me how good they are at it. Like everything from environment art to audio design to music to story to writing, everything. It's just like the world is so rich. Yeah, it just bums me out that there won't be any more.
Yeah.
So
I
sad.
know. I mean, talking with Eric and him wanting like to just for the rest of his career do those short games, I'm like, yes, please, please, you know, get
Yeah,
Eric,
yeah,
and Chet and whoever else, that you can get on those things. Get Mark back, and do those things. I would play those in that way. I mean, that is, and actually at that point, really what the game is, because they'll be short, is kind of immaterial to me. And so, I'll be interested in playing all of them because
yeah.
they're short. They will have some, interesting, probably funny story that I'll really enjoy. It'll enlarge this world in a way that I find appealing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as you said with Aperture Desk Job or whatever, it's like, it's just this short thing that's half an hour or an hour or whatever it is, and it's just a little delight. It's just and Portal wasn't much more than that, in terms of scope.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You might edit this out, but Moss mentions that when I thought this was the case, that J.K. Simmons came back for the Aperture Desk Job free game that came with the Steam Deck, or I guess anyone can play it, and that was in 2022. So that wasn't long ago. So he's still, he had some sort of relationship with them to come back,
Yeah.
and again, the humor in that little free app thing. I mean, probably half hour maybe,
Yeah.
if that, but just super clever, super clever. And I guess Eric was one of the writers on that. So yeah, and then the other thing that bums me out that just is so baffling about them is that if any company has the means to do it, if they wanted to make a single player game, sure, maybe it won't do the same, won't have the same concurrent users per month as another game. But what do they care? They're
Yeah.
Valve. Like they could make one and
Yeah.
just put it in a can, win some awards, and so now I'm just ranting as a fan and as a
Yeah.
player of
Yeah.
like, darn it.
I mean, to some
So
extent, that position in the industry, and now we're probably pretty far off topic, and we should maybe come back and talk about
yeah,
co-op. But my last point on that would be that kind of single player narrative with innovation in the gameplay has been taken over by Sony's first party rather studios. The Spider-Mans, I mean, they're huge. They're huge games, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very different sort of game. Um, but the Naughty Dogs and the Insomniacs and Sucker Punch, whatever. There are others. I mean, those are not all of them, but those are like the three that come to mind immediately. Of like, this is their, like, that's their loss leader, right? I mean, that they're spending a lot of money on those games to kind of keep the
Mm-hmm.
overall Sony brand kind of burnished.
Mm-hmm.
And Valve is kind of like, well, we don't need to do that because Steam's on every gamer's PC, worldwide or whatever, in X number of countries, and we don't need, we have a billion users to whatever 170 million PS4 and PS5 owners or whatever it is, and they don't need to, and again, the incentives there may not be in that direction. I don't really know enough, but I would suspect that is part of it. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's a good point. Yeah.
let's talk briefly about co-op and then turn to email and see if we got any questions from the gang who are listening live. We played co-op over the last, I guess, 5 weeks prior to this, which is kind of a lot now that I think about it. But we played all of the sections other than I guess there's a bonus section we didn't play of Portal 2 co-op, which was a first for me. So that was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, right. So you
Yeah.
should start.
Yeah. Okay. So co-op makes up for a lot always, right? And so
Yeah.
what it makes up for here is that a lot of the buttons or the bumpers are not as deep or interesting or progressing the narrative or anything of that with Gladys, because she doesn't care about you because you're just a robot,
Mm-hmm.
or a pair of robots. And while I appreciate that, and I like so what it must have taken us maybe 8 hours probably total, because we would play some Spelunky before we did that. So it's probably in the 6 to 8 hour range that we played the co-op. Um, I did miss that a little bit. I felt like
Mm.
I wanted some progress. I mean, she kept alluding to the humans, but like that was like the same level of illusion that was in Portal 1, but spread over 3 times as long, maybe 4 times as long.
Mm-hmm.
So I did feel like the mix was not quite right there, but I did feel like a lot of the puzzles were really good and interesting, and I got to boss you around, so that was fun for me too. I mean, you were
Yeah.
playing them again. I mean, but I know that you forgot them 10 minutes after you played them in most cases.
Yeah, we could play them tomorrow and I'd get stuck on the same places.
Yeah, we got stumped in a couple places.
Yeah, like the memory, like Calamity, who was watching a stream, mentioned it at one point. There's that one puzzle where you have to do both at the same time, and then you
Yeah.
and then you knock heads to land in the
So
place.
that you cancel each other's momentum and fall.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like that's the example I'd bring up, is like the perfect example of why you would want to do a co-op Portal
Yeah.
game. Because there's also a side of you like, yeah, co-op, I get it, makes sense. You're trying to make the product as robust as it can be. But co-op for the sake of co-op isn't always the right decision too,
Right.
even though, to your point, it does generally always make things better because
Yeah.
you're playing with friends or whatever.
I mean, my counterpoint puzzle example would be that one where I don't know how many times you had to do it, but it was like run, jump through, and grab the box as you're passing through before it falls through the dissolver,
Yeah.
grid.
Yeah.
It was like, that was the counter example of like, this should not be this hard.
Yeah.
Like, they should be helping us here, and I think, we haven't talked about this at all, but like, that was also true of this game, is that there's more help here. There's more like, oh, you figured out what you should be doing. We will bend the physics to work. And they didn't do it in that puzzle. It was like, well, you got to get the timing right, and you probably did it 2 dozen times, and
Yeah,
it was a
there-
lot. That one's fresh because it was the last one we played, but there may have been others that were like that, but that was the one where I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
they should have helped here.
Yeah, and they're a very playtesting focused company, so I feel like they maybe should have caught that. But yeah, so they're not all created equal for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so anytime, even in single player, anytime, I always have had trouble and it's worse in that particular puzzle's case on the orange goo, the very fast goo, aiming yourself to a narrow. There's a couple, and you're about to hit one, or you just hit it, where you have
Yeah,
to
there was.
go through a portal, and the portals are narrow, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're playing on sticks and the stick drifts at all, you're gonna miss it, and there's that happens in single player
Yeah,
all the time too.
my Circa 2003
Oh, you're still
wired
using a
controller here.
360
Oh my god, it is
wired
so
360.
dead.
Yeah, no,
I guess it was 2005, but it is. Yeah, it's not in good
yeah.
shape. Yeah, no, I had the same thing. Whereas like you had to run across the orange and then hit a blue patch that would jump you up into the wall,
Yep, that's the
and
one.
like I missed that again and again, and every time, and I would blame myself, and I'm like, no, this is not my fault.
They could have given you some
They
help
could have
there. Yeah,
they yeah, they could have funneled a little bit. It's like, so it's sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and it's like a weird. I either want them always to be one thing or always the other thing.
yeah.
Always help me or never help me.
And
But like there's
yeah,
a mix here, it feels like.
right. And I think I still suspect, though it's just a theory, that there could be some mouse and keyboard bias with this stuff, because I think with
Yeah,
a
yeah.
mouse you can aim much more
Yeah,
finely, right, and
that's
easily.
probably true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's easier to create an error for yourself with a stick, because you kind of just you roll your thumb a little bit, and then
Yep. You're hitting the
it's all
wall.
over. Yeah. So all that being said, co-op's always fun, and I think uh, that they did a great job with that stuff. The other thing that we talked about while we were streaming is, and and I think we had some good on stream um, debates about how to solve it. When you have two portals to keep track of.
Yeah, this will come up in email, so
Okay, good. Yeah.
we'll
And
talk
they've
about this.
added in the
The
new
email you're gonna read.
mechanics,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Whether it's the goo or whatever. But then throw in four,
right.
and there's the usability, or the accessibility rather, points about like color, and like it was hard for me sometimes to keep the color straight, even for yours, let alone my own.
Yeah,
So there's that, because they're like, cool colors, warm colors. They're very similar for each one. So yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of like, I feel like once they committed to doing it, they just went all the way. But there
yeah.
probably was moments when they're like, I bet you there were moments where like, okay, we maybe bit off a little bit too
Yeah,
much with
yeah.
this.
Could have backed off a little on this. Yeah,
Because portals are serious,
yeah, yeah.
it's a very
I mean,
hard concept.
it's a hard thing to think about. I mean, just to like,
Yeah.
it is so alien to our experience. We understand I can jump higher, I can run faster. Like those were never the problems. The problem is always I can walk through that wall and come out over there.
Yeah.
That's not a human thing. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's the one that you have to get over, and is hard to get over. I mean, it's maybe easier if you played in one or two big sessions, and we didn't do that, but even so, um, definitely have moments where I'm like, I've got to do the things that I don't normally do, i.e., run faster, jump higher. I don't often do that, and then I also have to do this other thing.
Right.
But that it is always fun to do co-op games. So it's
And some of the
yeah,
puzzles were really, really clever.
yeah.
So
Some of them are
hand it
very
to them
clever.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you have any topics you want to hit before we go to our couple of emails?
Not from the audience, you mean?
No, we'll do that as part of the. No, I just meant you. If there are other Portal 2 topics you want to make sure we hit.
Nope. I think we hit all my big
Okay.
ones.
All right. Well, while you check your phone, why don't you go
Just looking at
ahead?
my
You
note. I'm looking at my
you got to
notes.
get the email. You're looking at your notes to see.
Oh yeah.
All
So
right.
let
Yeah, that's a
me.
thing I don't normally see. So I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, usually my notes are on the screen, but for
For the
this
many things
recording,
you've
I
got to.
decided to
Yeah.
keep them on my phone.
Got it. Got it. All right. Go
Okay.
ahead then and give us. I think this person is in the chat. So.
Yeah, this person's definitely in the chat. Oh my goodness. Okay, subject. In case of live stream, read email from one Miss Stir Heed Hip. Kidding me? Where is he?
It keeps on going.
Hey, Brett and Tim. Hope your live stream. This is so meta. Hope your live stream is going well. Thank you, Mystery, by the way, for writing this and sending this for this occasion. This is great. Hope your live stream is going well. I want an opportunity to see how an email gets read on the cast, so I'm sending this in. Don't worry, it won't be a difficult question. On the recent Portal 2 co-op stream, loving them and the Spelunky competition, by the way. Competition? That's not a thing. I happen to be playing at the same time as Brett is playing, but
Briefly.
we are not competing. Tim mentioned the difficulty of remembering which portal needs to be moved, even though the game has a couple methods of delivering related information. I feel like he's throwing shade slightly at me. Do you think the case in the
Not
do
just you.
you think in the case of Portal the indicators are sufficient, and it's a matter of spending time in the game gaining muscle memory, or they should add more or change one? And more generically, how do you decide when making a game that the information presented is sufficient, especially as you're so close to the systems and know um, how they're supposed to work? Regards, Miss Stir, Heed, Hip. Yeah. P.S. I wanted to do it an entire email in Mad Gab style, but thought that might be too cruel. Thank you for not doing that,
Yeah, I would have been reading that
Miss
one.
Stir.
Uh,
Oh yeah, no.
yeah, I was thinking about this a little bit today because I was getting the email together, and I actually feel like this is not really a surmountable problem mechanically because of the like this is like I said, this is a thing we don't normally do. It's a left right confusion thing. I think it's only solvable by level design so that you can always see both, which I
Mm,
also feel is like a very hard problem.
mm,
Like, like, oh, I'm going to be here, and I actually think this is why I had less of this in Portal 1, is that a lot of the rooms are very like I can see the puzzle when I enter the room. I drop down to a position where I can see the places I want to put the two portals, and I put the two portals. And a lot of the puzzles are kind of that level of complexity. Not
mm.
all of them. I think later on, when you have some of those velocity based ones where you're going up and down,
Right.
those I would often mess up. But in general, I think that the issue is that I would be thinking through other parts of the problem, and then I'd be like, and then I just need to put a portal here, and I was like, and it's the wrong one, and it's
Yeah.
and without being able to see the other one or remembering to check because it might be far away, especially in Portal 2, it might be far away behind you up 6 stories. Like it could be very far away, and sometimes they're hard to even see at that point. Um, it felt like an insurmountable problem from a mechanic standpoint with the mix of mechanics that we had, but maybe a solvable level design problem um, if they weren't kind of so open. Anyway, that was kind of where I was on that.
I think that's a good point. I do think the a big burden does fall on level design to ensure the flow of the memory mapping, if you will, is there, right? That your memory is being logged in the right progression of the space around you. That can help a lot. The debate we were having on stream when we were playing it, and I know at least Calamity was there. I think some others might be there, might have been contributing to this, and he had an interesting idea, I would say, as well, of some shape language stuff. But
Mm,
it, for me, and this, so one answer for them to Miss Stir's question, uh, or maybe I should say Miss Hip's question, um, is that Valve does a lot of playtesting. It is, we know this, they've said it, it's public knowledge. I've got it from friends inside, fundamentally interwoven into their development. Yeah, I don't know if it's as much as we do because we do a lot, we do it daily,
yeah.
but and I'm bragging a little bit for the team there, but I do think they do it very often, and so I think to them thinking that they had sufficient amount, I think they had a lot of, they probably had a lot of play testing hours in that gave them confidence that they had enough. And
Yeah.
I think they probably did have enough for a project that wasn't supposed to be endless, right? Like,
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
endlessly iterate on this kind of stuff. Um, that being said, they also absolutely were too close to it. Their play testers might have even become too close to it. Playtesting sessions are not usually with breaks. You usually have somebody play for an extended period. Maybe they come back, but oftentimes it's hard to get the same people back if you're doing it from the public. And so that you really need to simulate the problem that Brett's talking about of I've played for an hour and then I play 2 weeks from now for another hour. And it's like, to your point, to the emails point, Mystery, the muscle memory just isn't there. But for me, the thing I'll add on um, is the controller. And I didn't actually go back and play with mouse and keyboard, so I don't know if it's better or not, but I'm betting it's probably going to be about the same. One thing that Nintendo tends to do very well most of the time, and I actually will use a controller that I don't think is maybe everyone's favorite controller, but the GameCube's controller. Now,
Perfect controller. Whatever.
okay, I've heard some debates. The
I mean, the
Wavebird,
wireless one
the
anyway. Yeah, the
Wavebird is a
Wavebird.
magic, yeah.
I wish mine had still worked.
But if
Good
you
God.
remember, like they did a very good job with that controller of making every button very specific, right? Versus like left trigger, right trigger being exactly the same. But they did have triggers and stuff, but they had I forget all the names, but the A button and the B button, they're different sizes and different
Yeah.
colors and different
And then X
places.
and Y were curved,
Yeah,
and then you had the C
yeah,
whatever hat thing, and then you had the Z button, right? And
right.
there wasn't a left and right Z button like the Switch, which is what they call them because,
Yeah,
of
just
course,
nonsense.
they do.
That was a bad call. But so my point is that when on in Portal, both portals are on triggers, and for me in my head, like it's both of them being on the same type of button that I would constantly get confused on. I'm like, oh, I should have done the left trigger. How would I ever have associated? Like yes, it's on the reticle and on the crosshairs. Yes, there's colors. Yes, they're on the left and the right side of the reticle. So
Yep.
there are definitely plenty of tells there. But as Brett said, once you put them in the world and then you spin around, your relative right left doesn't matter anymore. So
Yeah.
you're going to hit the wrong one. So
Or even worse, like we know, and this is not new information, but like we know psychologically that when a human being walks through something like a door, and hey, what's a
mm,
portal? When you walk through a door, your short term memory is purged.
yeah.
Like that is a literal physical
Yeah,
fact
you've
about the
mentioned that
human
before, I
brain.
think. Yeah, and that's a good
Yeah.
point.
And it's like, so as soon as you use one, you're not going to remember
Yeah.
because that's all working memory. That none of that's going to long term memory. It's like how to use them is going to long term memory and things like that. Sort of overall mechanical stuff. But like, it is too short a time frame to solve a puzzle, and be able to keep that stuff in, especially if you're using them. So it
Mhm.
makes it even worse. Like it's
Mhm.
inherent in the design that's going to work against their psychology.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a game about doors.
yeah,
So you're like
doors everywhere.
you've made
Yeah.
it really difficult. Yeah, so
And there's some traditional doors as well. And often when you're getting thrown through space, you're landing in a place that's also kind of like funneling you. So it's also door like
yeah.
when you're landing on those ramps. It's like it's doors all the way down, Tim.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought up the controller is that, and I think the email asked also like how we solve this. And I definitely don't have an easy answer for that, but playtesting is always a part of it. Um, if I had an answer for that, like we'd be all retired. I don't know. Like there's if we had those kinds, those are not, every game is different problem. Every team solves it differently. So I don't have a solution for you there, but that I can boil down. But the reason I brought the controller is that I think that, like, to give you an example, if the portals were on different types of buttons, right? Say one portal was on A and another one was on left trigger or something, and then to Calamity's point, they also had different shape language that associated it with that stuff. I think they could have gone farther personally with solving that problem, and it's only worse in co-op because we have four portals.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really hard problem to solve. for any game and any developer, and we've definitely messed it up multiple times ourselves. So
Yeah.
I think we have a special guest on the stream there.
Yep. I'm seeing that. Quiet so far, but who knows? All right. I have the other email we have, which is related to the Deadly Premonition episodes, which are the game we've been playing recently. The subject is quote, "I wish there were more police games." So not exactly what I think you said, but I guess we could talk about. This is from Pablo. Pablo says, "Hi guys. Towards the end of the third Deadly Premonition episode, Tim said something like, 'I wish there were more police games.' I don't know about any new ones, but how about the old Police Quest series? I only played a couple of the early ones and only for a short time each, but I seem to recall they were strong on the quote police procedural side and maybe quite authentic, question mark. um, then again, I was just a kid back then and living in Spain, so what I knew about authentic American police representation would have been close to nothing. um, it would have been the same for me at the time. Anyway, keep up the awesome work. Listening to you guys talk more about games always makes me want to go and play them myself. Pablo." So
I can't speak
yeah,
to this.
you can't speak to Police Quest. You haven't.
No, I
You
can.
can. Oh, you can. Yeah, I haven't. I've never played them. The only real connection I have with them is a Campo Santo one. Again, the Campo Santo had a quarterly PDF that they sent out to their subscribers when they
Okay.
were in development, both before and
Not a
after.
newsletter, but a PDF.
It was a PDF that they sent out, the Campo Santo Quarterly. And Duncan Fife would often write articles in there, and he wrote one about Police Quest. I think he published it elsewhere as well, or maybe I
This
learned about
rings
it
a
there.
bell, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe he published it somewhere else, and I read about it there, and maybe I just was aware of Duncan because of his work on the Quarterly. But that's my recollection. He wrote one about I can't remember the name of the police chief, but the LA police chief
Yeah,
was
there's
involved in
Yep.
at least one of the Police Quest games. So
yeah.
that's what I know.
Yep.
But I give it to you.
They had so as when we did our Sierra series, which we played King's Quest and Space Quest, and Police Quest follows that same paradigm. It's exactly the same game generally, but they did hire a consultant. I think he was the LA police chief, maybe I don't remember. He's on the box, like he's in the manual. Like they really plugged this hard. I will say as a PSA caveat, I don't think those games age well, and I do believe they will be fairly problematic. So just to warn anyone who's looking back at it. But yeah, Kyle just mentioned it there. Thank you, Kyle. Though this might get edited out. Anyway, yeah, they're pretty problematic. But they did attempt to have as authentic of a police police not procedural, I guess, in the sense of the creative sense of it or whatever. I don't know what when they say police procedural, that's a genre to me, but maybe it also has a real definition of the procedures that police go through.
Yeah.
But to give an example,
I mean, the genre is meant to reflect those procedures, although in fact, I would say I read them. Some follow a police procedure, and some are like, this is what people imagine police procedure is. Right.
Yeah.
This is a procedure. Is it police? Yeah.
The stream just got air quotes, but of course the podcast did not. So
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So to the degree where in Police Quest 1, before you can leave to go on duty for the first time, you have to walk around your car and check each tire to make sure that it is not flat, because that's what they do, apparently. So it's like they went down really, really specific road there. But to Pablo's question, I sort of meant police, but what I think I really meant Moss mentioned LA Noire. I'm talking more like, I think what I really meant, I don't remember what I said, but what I really meant was crime focused, solving a crime focused games like LA Noire. Like
I think you said Twin Peaks specifically, actually, not a police game, but a Twin Peaks.
Yeah, well, Twin Peaks, but also like there was an X-Files
detective.
Yeah, there was an X-Files game that was pretty cool. That was an FMV game. Reed and I flipped out over that game. That would be a fun one to look at someday. I'm sure it's impossible to play. we mentioned Heavy Rain, LA Noir came up. Moss mentioned that. So there are some out there, but for what I don't know, I just feel like as far as TV goes, they're like that's the genre. There's
Yeah,
too
yeah.
many police procedural slash crime focused TV shows. Too many. Why aren't there more game ones? Because I want to be the Cooper. I want to be Agent Cooper, and I want to solve those
Yeah.
crimes. You know,
I mean, I think, I mean, honestly, my answer to that is that it's harder to do that, I think,
watch somebody
you
do it.
than watch somebody do it. Yeah. Because somebody does it and they pick out the information, right? Because LA Noir tried to do this where they had lots of clues that were useless in the scene of the crime, for example. And it was kind of annoying. It was like, okay, well, I
Mm,
go up to a bunch of stuff and it's like, this probably has nothing to do with it. And it's like
interesting. Yeah.
that's not how the police treat a crime scene, right? The police gather everything, everything gets tested, right, until they have a suspect, and then they probably narrow a little too much on their suspect. But like,
Yeah.
there's a lot about that in both fiction and reality. But the that's a hard problem. Like the thing I hate about like a JRPG that has like an empty chest somewhere. I'm like, why would don't put that there? All you did was waste my time.
You're one of
It's like,
those.
right? It's like I don't want that in
It's
those
to make the
games.
chests that have something in them more valuable.
Oh yeah, those 63,000 other chests. Yeah, well they definitely feel way more valuable now that I wasted 2 minutes running down this
Uh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's just like salience is a really hard problem. And then of course, if you treat all of that as potentially salient, now all of that stuff could matter, and now it's a job. Now it
Yeah.
really is a police
Yeah.
procedural.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard problem. And
Interesting.
I think with Deadly Premonition, to pull it back to that game, what we want is like, that's why I spent so much time talking about like him doing the profiling and everything. It's like I'm never going to come up with that. um, but I want to have done the work and get the reward of I put the pieces together, even if I didn't. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I think that that's the sort of critical. That's the feeling I want. I don't actually want to do what police do. In terms of detectives. I
Yeah.
want to. It's like Rock Band. I could go and learn to play an instrument. I want to feel like I'm performing on stage,
Right.
like with my piece of plastic in my hands. I
Right.
think that one. I think I have that one in here somewhere. It's
There's a
sitting in
lot
the
of
car.
good. Yeah. There's a lot of good comments coming in the chat.
Of
So yeah. Yeah. Well. So yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that's a really good point. That the reality of doing what I'm saying is hard to make fun for sure. But we talk about Obra Dinn. There's some really
Yeah.
clever versions of this.
Hmm.
Um,
But they all find ways to constrain the problem down
right,
to make
exactly.
it
Yeah.
to make that fun. Yeah.
Adventure games in general, like a lot of them
Yeah.
are mystery based. Golden Idol came up. The Nancy Drew games came up. There's a lot of Sherlock Holmes games, and oftentimes I've played a few of those. And actually, some of the Nancy Drew ones are actually quite good, as well as the Sherlock Holmes ones. But some of them, like a lot of them, are heavy. They're more traditional adventure games, right? It's heavy on story and character stuff, and you're not really solving. You're not really doing what Sherlock Holmes
Nancy's
does.
making the connections,
Yeah,
right? I
Nancy's
mean,
making the connection. Sherlock's home,
yeah,
Watson. Consult, but the thing I want to bring up is that there
yeah,
are some board games, right? There are some board games that actually do crack this nut, and so I I have to believe it's possible, and there have been some that have done it in a clever way. But I think to your point, if you're going to do it in a video game, you got to lean into it being a video game and do it in a way that really embellishes on that medium versus just trying to make it like a TV show. Um, because Consulting Detective, even the original, if anyone's ever played it, which is a Sherlock Holmes kind of it's a board game, but um, it, I remember as a kid even feeling like Sherlock Holmes in that, right? And then you were really looking for clues and solving stuff. It's not really heavy, but it's very difficult. And so, yeah, I'm excited to make one of those games someday.
hmm. I mean, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. All right. Before I do the outro, I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. Put
Oh,
my Oh, my throat's okay.
Oh,
We're at
whoa.
the end of an hour and a half. This is streamers only. This is all going to get cut out. So,
Oh,
and
jeez.
then we'll do the outro. But I've had this one for literally years at this point. Let's see, what is the date on this? August of
It's
2023.
happening, folks.
All right, this one I know I've told you about this before, but this one is in here. But I'm going to be looking up at the top screen. That's where where it is.
Oh, no.
All right. I'll have to take out some of it because I remember there's some longer breaks in this one for guitar work. But here it goes. Load up on games, tell your friends, it's fun to learn and comprehend. I'm never bored and be assured, no rarely is there a dirty word. Hello, 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 hello. Hear their thoughts out. It's engrossing. Brett and Tim, they do the hosting. Can't wait for Wednesday. Their new posting. There's on games they'll be proposing. I forgot how this one goes, but on PlayStation, on Atari, on 3DO, my Nintendo. I'm worse at what they do best, and for their gift I feel blessed. This little cast has always been, always will be great until the end. Hello, 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 Diablo. Hello, hello, Super Mario. Hello, hello, Republic Commando. Hello, hello, hello. Play the levels, points to discuss. Here we are now, entertain us every week now. They delight us, but they also edify us. A platformer, MMORPG, good God, a point and click, a strategic. And I forget just why they cast. Oh, yeah, I guess it makes us smile. Won't find it hard, not hard to find. Oh, well, whatever, keep them in mind. Longo, 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 ah, geez. Longo, 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 ah, geez. Longo, 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 ah, geez. Longo, longo, longo. To understand games, they use their pro rolls, talk about constraints and the consoles, all the tech toils and the controls, and Tim might mention Dark Souls. Be it vector, polygonal, could be text-based or art by pixel. I don't know how this ending part would go. I have not heard the song in like 20 something years.
It did the whole thing, the whole
It's
song.
the whole thing. The whole thing goes out with a B Duville, a B Duville, a B Duville, and then Junshi Barkwill, Junshi Barkwill, Junshi Barkwill. She left. She took off. Anyway.
All right, folks. Round of applause. Round of applause. Did you stop recording during that?
I did not. No, I'm cutting that. I'll cut that tomorrow. That's just for the stream.
Just for the stream.
Now we'll do our outro, and then we can. We can ask. I don't know if there were any questions in the chat. So
we've missed so much chat. I have no idea. There's been a lot of good chat.
There was a lot of discussion about the police procedural stuff. There's a lot of that stuff that came up. Carmen Sandiego is in there. That's a good one.
Oh, Carmen Sandiego is a good one too. Yeah, that was really that's awesome.
All right, well, I'm going to go then to our outro. I hope you've gotten everything out of this that you wanted this evening, and those who are here on the stream got something a little extra. We love to get your reviews. We get all of the ones that are on the Apple infrastructure. And of course, we get your emails, such as the ones we read tonight, at devgameclub@gmail.com. We're on the web at devgameclub.com. And my co-host, and occasionally me, Twitch at twitch.tv/
and Longo Jr. with the JR at the end, which we're doing right now.
Which you're watching as we discuss this. You're off this week because you were traveling, but hopefully you'll be back next week.
Usually Wednesdays, Wednesdays Pacific, 7 o'clock Pacific.
All right.
And we still, did you already plug the looking for more streamers? You plugged noises.
Did, yes.
Okay.
I did that at the beginning. Yeah. I know it was almost.
It was always.
Ago, you've already forgotten. but I did.
I only listen to half of what you say.
You can find more of this on the Discord, which is fan run, and there's a link for that in the show notes. Our intro and outro music was written and performed by Kirk Hamilton, commissioned by friend of the cast Aaron Evers, and our logo, that Discord, our merch store, all by Mark Garcia. Have fun learning from Gladys which robot she prefers this week, and good night.
Good night. Oh, you have your editing work cut out for you this time.
And as we say, and scene. That's what I always say at the end.
Yeah,
when
that
we
you wouldn't
stop
know that
recording.
either.
No, because that's always cut out. Occasionally there's a little chatter afterwards. So, whew.
Oh
Now I'm
man,
tired. My throat is.
what a
killing me.
surprise! Did you plan that, or did?
No, somebody mentioned it earlier, and I was like, why the hell not?
Oh wow, good for you. That is bold move, doing it on the fly.
Yeah, I don't
a
remember.
special treat for the stream, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
of course.
that's
Well,
gonna be.
That's what that was for.
Yeah.
Trying to switch to Discord here so I can get you on a larger scale and put you up here, and now I can see the chat. Okay.
Did we?
Yeah, seeing how the sausage is made for sure. I'm looking now to see if the download is occurred.
I think we
can just chat.
Plugged everything we needed to, right, folks?
We did. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, special treat. I think we'll get some good
treat.
Oh yeah, no, it was a treat.
Like
and welcome in Grybo, by the way.
Like dog food is a
and
is a
Luigi.
treat.
Yeah.
So what is video games?
Yeah, exactly. Good question. Good question. And Kaon is even taking care of the kids while watching, so we appreciate you double duty there. Oh yeah, my Metal Gear things. I'm just going back through some of them.
I should go and try to find all the song clips. Someday do a supercut.
Oh yeah, we could put them on YouTube, right? We'll do a playlist. Yeah, massive respect for singing on camera. Kyle says.
It is not my thing. I have not really sung other than this podcast since I was 6th grade. I think is the last time I had a singing part in a musical when I was a kid. I was Red Chief. Actually, it was really only the 5th grade year. I was Red Chief in the Ransom Red Chief, and so I had a number of solos. But I was like at the most power I was going to have because my voice started to change like that summer. Actually, during some of the
awkward.
Oh my god, it was the worst. My voice cracked, in rehearsals at one point, and like you do. So I was like, my lungs are about as big as they're ever going to be compared to my voice quality.
Oh man.
So
yeah, somebody mentioned Spelunky. We need to do somebody needs a singing review with Spelunky.
A Spelunky singing review.
To do. That's where all of the tendrils merge.
I'm gonna look and see.
Well, we did. This was a
triumph.
This was a triumph, and much longer than we anticipated. I guess it makes sense for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Shall we close it down?
Yeah, we can close it down. That was an hour and a half. I'm still waiting on the Wave downloads, but we can close down the stream, so we're good. We're good. Thank you all for coming.
After I read the mail, I almost closed my browser.
Oh yeah, that would not be good.
Would have been bad.
That would have been funny.
Okay, I'll just leave that. I just won't touch a thing. Yeah, thanks for coming, folks. This was really fun. I'm glad it was a stretch goal for the charity event. For anyone here now or watching the VOD, just to triple plug it, the Defeating Games for Charity, I think it's January 24th and 25th, right?
That's correct. You've got that one down.
That's one of the only things I have down. And the community is working hard. We hear from them from time to time. I know we see in Discord. We do have that Discord community, if you didn't know. But that is ramping up. So it's super fun. It's I love participating if they will have me, and I love watching all the streams. And it's a marathon for sure. And they keep upping themselves as far as how much money they raise too. So I love the community. So I really appreciate, and this was a great idea. I'm glad we got to do one of these on stream.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
I don't think we'll make a habit.
I don't want to do another one. Yeah.
Well,
maybe not next week.
I mean, not next week, but we'll see what the charity does.
I did like that we were able to do it based on a game we streamed as well, so that people could
Oh, good point.
see us playing it. I mean, and that's not something we do. I mean, that might be the first co-op experience we've had with the game. Is that true?
Yeah. No, well, yeah. Other than SNES Classic, which we didn't stream.
Right. Which
Yeah.
we didn't stream.
Yeah.
We were just playing. Yeah.
Yeah. We should probably do some more co-op if people want to watch it. I think it'd be fun. There's some obvious choices out there, I think. Oh, I know what we could do. We could do Elden Ring multiplayer.
Oh God.
Yes.
See, he didn't mention Dark Souls until sort of mentioning it now.
Oh, did we play Warcraft? We
didn't play it.
We had
We didn't play
threatened to
co-op.
do
Yeah, we had threatened to do competitive.
competitive. Yeah,
we didn't.
That would be hilarious.
We did. No, actually, we did play Diablo co-op one night.
We did. We streamed it.
Yeah, we streamed it. In fact, we streamed it, and I used the same password we used for all of our accounts for the login to join the private.
That's why you had to change it.
And I had to change it.
I remember that now. Because I just asked you for the password the other day, and I'm like, why has it changed? Oh,
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah, that was why. And yeah, we did play World of Warcraft. That's true. So we didn't stream that. I don't. Well, we might have once or twice. We might have been on stream. We definitely played with the community a bit with that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think there's plenty. That would be fun to do, and especially if we can find a way to have it relate to the somehow to the game we're playing.
Yeah.
So again, I never want to promise, but we have a good shot at another Portal guest, or 2 or 3. We'll see how many land. We just happen to have some good connections for this one that might happen. So stay tuned for that. Just a little bit of a preview for that. So yeah. Oh yeah, we did GoldenEye.
Yeah,
Nolan
in Discord.
Played. That's right.
Yeah, we played in Discord.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and so I'm sure yeah, so thanks for coming on, folks. We'll close it down. Appreciate you. And this was fun times. And the VOD will be up and also on our YouTube channel so people can watch it in the future.
And I will go get some honey and lemon.
Yeah, I think you probably need it. All right, folks. Thanks for coming on. Be well.
Be well. Cheers.
And good night.